Have you noticed something strange happening in business lately, especially if you are a founder in Singapore or Malaysia? Some companies are growing faster than ever with fewer people, while other companies keep hiring more staff every year, but somehow feel slower, heavier, and more difficult to run. And here is the uncomfortable question many founders are starting to ask themselves quietly. What if the way we built our companies over the last 20 years is slowly becoming the wrong way to build them? Before we go further, let me ask you two questions that might make you pause for a moment. Have you noticed that some founders seem to attract deals, clients, and attention almost effortlessly, while others with equally good products remain completely invisible? And have you seen businesses with very small teams suddenly outperform companies with huge departments and complicated structures? These patterns are not random. And what makes this interesting is that a small research group studying global economic shifts may have accidentally uncovered why this is happening. Before you think this is just another boring economic lecture, stay with me for three reasons. First, what we are about to talk about explains why some companies in Singapore and Malaysia suddenly feel harder to run, even though the economy still looks healthy. Second, it reveals why attention is quietly becoming more valuable than money for founders who want to grow. Third, it exposes why certain business models that worked perfectly for the last 20 years may start breaking in the next 10. If you run a business or lead a company and you care about understanding changes before they hit your balance sheet, take a moment to like this video, share it with another founder who should be thinking about these shifts, and subscribe to this channel because the goal here is simple: to help business owners see structural changes before they become painful. Now let's talk about the discovery. There is a small research firm called Citrini Research that spends its time studying long-term economic changes instead of predicting daily market prices. In other words, they ask a question most founders never stop to ask. What forces are quietly changing how businesses work? Their reports are read by investors and global strategists. But what is fascinating is that many of their conclusions explain things founders in Singapore and Malaysia are already starting to feel. Let's look at three discoveries from their research that matter for business owners in this region. The first discovery is about productivity. For many decades, companies believed growth meant hiring more people, building larger teams, and expanding departments because the assumption was simple: more people equals more output. But technology is quietly breaking this rule. Software, automation, and artificial intelligence are beginning to handle work that used to require entire departments, which means some companies are now producing more output with fewer people. This is why you are starting to see a strange new pattern: small teams moving faster than large organizations. The second discovery is about attention. In the past, businesses believed capital and operations were the main drivers of growth. Today, something else is happening. In a world where information spreads instantly and social platforms shape perception, the founders who control narrative and visibility often grow faster than companies that remain silent. In other words, attention has quietly become one of the most powerful resources in business. The third discovery is about structure. Many businesses around the world were built during a period where labor was relatively affordable, logistics was stable, and expansion across borders was easy. But when technology changes productivity, when geopolitics changes trade patterns, and when automation begins replacing manual processes, those assumptions begin to shift. And when assumptions shift, business models built on those assumptions start to feel fragile. Now, if you are a founder watching this, the interesting part is not the research itself. The interesting part is what it reveals about how we think, because inside these discoveries are three lessons that many founders will learn the hard way. The first lesson involves a myth. The myth is that growth comes from hiring more people. For many founders, success is measured by the size of the team, the number of employees, and the scale of operations. But the challenge today is that complexity grows faster than revenue when companies expand headcount without increasing productivity. The obstacle is mindset. Many leaders still believe a bigger organization means a stronger company. The roadblock appears when operations become slow, decisions become complicated, and profit margins shrink under the weight of structure. The solution is a different question. Instead of asking how many people are needed to grow the company, Founders should start asking how much output can be generated with the smallest possible team supported by the right tools. The second lesson exposes another myth. The myth is that good products automatically attract customers. This sounds fair and logical, but modern markets behave differently. The challenge today is visibility. Many founders in Southeast Asia are brilliant at building products and operations, but uncomfortable when it comes to telling their story publicly. The obstacle is hesitation. The roadblock appears when competitors who are more visible dominate the conversation, even if their products are not dramatically better. The solution is simple but uncomfortable. Visibility is no longer marketing. Visibility is leadership. The third lesson is about business structure. For many years, companies in Singapore and Malaysia thrived because regional movement was easy, labor costs were manageable, and expansion across borders was straightforward. But automation, economic pressure, and shifting policies are changing those conditions. The myth is that this environment will remain stable. The challenge is adaptation. The obstacle appears when businesses depend heavily on manpower, physical movement, or complicated operational systems. The roadblock arrives when sudden disruptions expose how fragile those models are. The solution is leverage. Leverage means designing companies around systems, technology, intellectual property, and digital distribution so that growth does not require multiplying complexity. When you step back and look at these lessons together, something important becomes clear. The future of business will not belong to companies that simply work harder, hire faster, or expand larger. The future will belong to companies that are simpler, more visible, and more adaptable. And founders who start seeing these shifts early will move through the next decade with far less friction than those who only react when their structure begins to break. If this conversation made you pause and rethink the way your business is designed, then the discussion should not stop here. Because these structural changes are happening quietly in the background, and founders who understand them early gain a powerful advantage over those who discover them only after problems appear. If you want to explore these ideas deeper and join a community of founders who are paying attention to these shifts in business, leadership, and strategy, join the Destiny Architect Telegram chat where these conversations continue beyond this channel. You will find the link in the description, and I look forward to seeing you